Welcome to the Animation Station Podcast, your home for discussions and debates about all things animation. Each week, we'll rank, review, and revel in animated shows from yesterday and today, and from around the world. So grab your Acme slingshot, set your mobile suit to autopilot, and put on your mouse ears. The Animation Station Podcast begins now.
The day a star fell, it was almost like
seeing something out of a dream. Nothing more or less
than a breathtaking view.
At last, hello, you've opened your eyes. But why won't you even look?
Let's hit the cafe later. Thanks, but I gotta go to work.
I can't stand this place anymore. It's too small and close-knit. Please make me a Tokyo boy like that slime!
Where am I?
I've been having some strange dreams lately. Like a dream about someone else's life.
What is this? What?
Could this mean?
In our dreams, that girl and I, we're switching places!
There's one thing I'm certain of. If we see each other, we'll definitely know right away.
I wanted to tell you that wherever you are in the world, I swear that I'll find you again, no matter what.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Can I ask you your name?
Captain Underpants looks hilarious.
Captain Underpants does look good.
Like that and the Lego Ninjago movie.
I wish we would have gotten something else for Lego Ninjago.
Hilarious. Well, it's so far out there. I don't think they're going to give us a new trailer probably for another few months.
Yeah, was that Camille Munjani?
I don't know who that is.
Don't worry about it. He's also from Silicon Valley.
This is what we do here. You say, was that so-and-so? And I said, I don't know.
Yeah. That Captain Underpants actually looks really good.
Yeah, it looks hilarious. Like, I didn't...
Thomas Middleditch, Ed Helms...
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart.
Yeah. I didn't know...
Is Kevin Hart Thomas Middleditch's friend? The other little boy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that Captain Underpants' premise was this.
Yeah,
is this what it is in the book?
I never read them.
I didn't either. And I mean, I shelved it a million times.
Exactly, same. Like I put the books away, and I know we sold a bunch of them. But
if that's the actual premise for the books, that's freaking hilarious.
That's
to
great.
Me. I thought it was a good setup, and
the banter between the two boys just from the trailer.
Oh yeah, great.
It makes it sound really cool.
Great.
I'm like,
it makes me think that Kevin Hart's character should have had a partner in Secret Life of Pets because he was so annoying in that. And I love Kevin Hart, but he was so annoying in that. He
was atrocious.
And this one, it looks like they're just really playing off of each other, and I feel like it looks really, really hilarious. And then the Lego Ninjago movie just looks so
great.
Melodramatically humorous that it's amazing. Dad.
Wait, what did you?
And he's got his like blonde hair, like slowly like drifting around his head. It looks amazing.
He's like, "You're a bad dad. How can I be a bad dad? I was never there."
Yeah,
that's it's such a great line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was good. So, I was surprised that we got any trailers at all. We didn't know if we would.
I was expecting more Funimation
trailers.
Was a
special thing. But yeah, I was expecting more from Funimation.
Or just anything from Funimation. The only thing we got knowing that this was a Funimation film was the boom, boom, the little Funimation logo at the beginning.
Right.
That was it.
Well, let's get into it, man.
All right, welcome to the Animation Station Podcast, Cartoon Cafe edition.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just got done watching Your Name.
Yes, we did.
And
the biggest animated film out of Japan ever at this point, right?
I mean, before it came over to the United States, $300 million, and hasn't even hit here yet.
Right.
So, I mean, that's pretty outstanding just by itself.
Do we know if it's going to go into wide release here, or is it just a limited engagement?
I think this was a limited engagement to see if they, how it works. Like if this weekend they do really well, maybe they're like, okay, next weekend too, or in May, beginning of May, maybe we put the whole thing out again.
Well, how do you feel like the success of the first showing of the day that we went to was? Because I feel like for a foreign film, animated, first show of the day on a Saturday, that's not really prime time. It's not mainstream. Our theater was about a third full. I think that was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't like they were showing a legendary movie like Spirited Away. That theater was full.
Oh yeah, that was packed.
But that's a legendary movie that we've known for 10 years or 20 years, however long it is. Yeah, and this is brand new. So I felt like it was a pretty good turnout.
Yeah.
So I hope they push it because it's
There
amazing.
was a problem.
What the heck, dude?
There was a huge problem. And I'm going to call out AMC on this.
Seriously.
Because something crazy happened.
They jerked us around.
When we bought our tickets, I went through the Funimation Film site, and I saw the dub, and it was like, the dub is playing at this theater at this time. So I'm like, sweet. So we go, I use my AMC app, find the theater.
We both bought tickets ahead of time.
Exact same time. It was the 11:25 showing on Saturday, April 8th at AMC Quail.
Yep.
So it's like, perfect. This is the dub version. Great.
And we both bought tickets separately with the exact same result. We both saw the 11:25 showing.
We both have confirmation numbers, emails. I took a picture on a screenshot on my phone.
Right.
For whatever reason, because we were going to get to the theater, it was 30 minutes early.
Right.
So we were like,
we got there at 10:55 is when we walked up to the front of the theater.
We do our swipe card thing. Because, the first thing that threw me was I tried to open up the app.
Right.
Because I usually just, have them scan my phone, and that's perfect. So I tried to open up the app. I tried to tap on the 11:25 showing. Nothing happened.
Nothing came up.
I was like, that's weird. There was another one there that was 11:05.
Right.
Same your name, same thing. I was like, I don't think I bought 2 showings. That seems weird.
Right.
11:05, it will let me open.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is kind of... Swipe my card.
So we go up and we get our tickets printed. We showed up at 10:55, and sure enough, the tickets print out 11:05. And it was like the farthest theater in the very back.
Yeah.
Like
it was the theater that didn't even have the LED marquee bit.
Oh, it
on
didn't?
top
I
of
didn't
the
even
door.
notice that.
Yeah, no, it was like off to the side. They were like, your name's this one. I'm like, oh, cool, thanks, guys.
Nice.
So we go in, and we're sitting there. I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe they just changed the time and didn't tell us.
Right. That was annoying, but that wasn't the most annoying thing.
The most annoying thing was paid for the Funimation English dub.
Yep.
Because we have guests in anime, like Kyle LeBear. He's in it.
Seriously?
We missed his voice. Yeah, we missed getting to hear him.
That's
he's, I think, the big dude, like his other friend, Taki's friends.
Oh, it's kind of the shaggier hair?
Shaggy hair that gives him like the croquettes. The big dude who's like, you owe me lunch. That guy. I think that's
awesome.
Kyle LeBear.
Okay.
And I was like, dang. So we missed him.
Yeah.
And so we watch the film starts.
Film starts. I thought maybe just this intro is just going to be...
Well, the thing is, I've heard the intro in English because that's the part that Funimation is thrown everywhere. So the moment that it starts, I was like, they gave us the sub.
Yeah.
They changed times, and they changed films on us.
Yeah, they did. They did the old switcheroo on us. And, so for the first 5 minutes or so, that was upsetting. For the first 20 to 30 minutes for me... I had to really work on, because there's a
I would have sat higher because if I knew that we were going to watch the sub, we would have sat higher so you can see the bottom. So you can see the bottom of the screen with the subtitles, but you can see the whole screen. Yeah. I set us kind of close because I was thinking because that's what I had purchased that we were going to get the English dub, so I could just sit back and just watch.
Yeah. Well, I do enjoy watching subtitled films, especially animation, but not the first time because I am an admittedly slow reader, and I'm also an admittedly, I focus on the artwork. That's what I'm just trying to eat up. I'm trying to really absorb the visuals. And so a lot of times I'll look up to the corner of the screen and a new line comes on and I don't get down to it in time to read the whole thing. So there were some lines that I missed because of that. But after a while you do kind of get into a rhythm and you kind of fall into it. But yeah, that was disappointing.
It was very disappointing. And it makes me not want to watch because like they've got Tinseltown here that is apparently also showing the same things, is supposedly showing the English dub, but I'm also like, I don't know if I want to get burned.
Yeah, I feel like I would call
and make sure it's like, hey, is this in English?
That it's the dubbed version. I also feel like, and this isn't, I mean, we're gonna spoil this movie for you guys.
Oh yeah, this
is just so you guys know, we're gonna spoil it.
The movie's also been out since September in Japan, so I mean, like,
right.
I know lots of people, like we know people that have watched it before and pirated it, and it's like, well, let's not do that.
So I'm gonna also spoil my opinion of this movie. I'm buying it the second it comes out.
Yes.
So, and the other thing is, I don't feel like this one is necessarily, a mandatory watch it on the big screen kind of movie. I think there are a few scenes that I feel like, oh, that's really impressive seeing it big. But for the most part, I feel like you can get the beauty of this movie on your screen at home.
The one part that I did like, because there's no dialogue in it, well, or very small bits of dialogue, when he's got like the red string of fate and he's going through her memories, I thought that was really, really good.
Yeah, was cool.
That was just the way it was animated. It looked really cool. I was like, ooh, this is...
where it starts with that chalk drawing on the ceiling of the cave.
And then it goes down, and then it's like the string everywhere.
Was cool.
It was super cool.
Because they brought in a different stylistic technique that I don't know if I've ever seen that in anime before. I've seen it in other things, but I don't think I can think of an anime film where it's like, oh, for this segment, we're going to do like chalk drawings and then like watercolor washes and make it really like just strange and washed out and artsy. And I thought that was really cool.
It kind of reminded me of what they did with Moana. You remember when like Maui's singing his song and he's giving like everything is in 2D except Maui and Moana. And like I kind of I was like, okay, I can kind of see that. Yeah. But I thought this just the way it was drawn was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was really pretty too. He had lots of bright colors because you don't have a lot of like super vibrant colors in this. It's very like what you were saying in the car. It's very
school uniforms, black and white clothes.
Like that.
Yeah.
Until we get to the comet.
Yeah.
We get to the comic and we got a lot of pretty colors in the comet, and then we get to this scene and then they're like, oh yeah, you wanted that color palette? There's that color palette.
Yeah. I think the color palette in this movie is really beautiful. I did voice something that I kind of have as like a general criticism of a lot of anime that I've seen. Anytime it's, a group of high school age or younger people, you always see them in school uniforms, and all the school uniforms for the most part look basically the same colors. And I find just some of the costume design gets a little tiresome. And so this is just yet another example of kind of boring outfits that they're in for most of the movie. But honestly, that's about where my criticism of this movie ends.
And it's one of
That's it. That's a nitpicky little thing it's just a personal thing.
The uniforms don't tell anything to the story.
No, they don't. They don't. I mean, they, like you said, they wear their uniforms a little differently, so it can kind of speak to the personalities of the characters a little bit, so you can kind of instantly identify, oh, he's kind of the goof off, he's the straight-laced one, so on and so forth. But other than that, they don't contribute or take away from the story in any way. I just, I like my colors. And I like, I would have liked to have seen them in more variety of clothing. But, so the way this movie starts out, I think is genius, where we as the audience are kind of left with guessing, just like the two characters are. So, I mean, it basically starts out where we see her, or him wake up as her
first. Wake up as her.
Right.
And he's
so
like,
it's one of the very first moments. Yeah. And you see this boy wake up as a girl. He's in her body. And he does that point of view, like look down upon himself, and he can see his own cleavage, and he's like, wait, what? What's going on here? And then he starts to, explore with his hands, and then he gets in front of the mirror, and it's like, this is awesome, because you're just trying to go through the emotional roller coaster of what that would be to be instantly gender swapped.
Oh yeah,
because
honestly, that's exactly what would happen.
Yeah.
Because if you could put a regular kid in there, and there's like, well, because like that is one thing that we don't see a lot. Like, because there've been cartoons and stuff that do like gender swaps. Like something will happen, they do like a Freaky Friday type situation,
right?
And that happens, but there's never anything where you're like over sexualizing it.
Yeah, well, it's a teenage boy.
Yeah, and like this
all
dude's
of a sudden,
like, bro,
he has boobs that he can grab anytime he wants.
I like how the first thing he does is he touches him, and he's like, well, there's a mirror over there. Takes this off. Dang! I was like, yeah, bro.
It's funny, and they really played to the humor of that. They didn't really make it sexual ever.
No.
They didn't go beyond that. It was funny.
Other than
because
I like how every time he woke up,
yeah,
he's like, yes,
and that's
back.
The joke. It's like, oh, I can't help it. I'm a teenage boy. I'm gonna grab these.
And I like what he says too.
Hilarious.
He's like, he wakes up and he goes to it, and he's like, no, she wouldn't want me to do that. And then the little sister comes in and he's grabbing
and he's grabbing him. Yeah, exactly. He can't help it. And so you kind of get the same but slightly different reaction when she wakes up as him. She's kind of like, wait, my boobs are gone. And then she's like, there's something down there.
And like she touches, he's like, oh.
And she has a much more bashful reaction to it, and it's just kind of sweet. But then, as this continues to happen to them, they start to piece together, this isn't a dream, this is something else. And they start to realize, oh my gosh, we're switching places. And then they do this genius plot device where they start keeping rules and diaries in each other's smartphones when they're in each other's bodies. Yeah. So they kind of develop this dialogue of sorts and this kind of these parameters, and they help each other out, or they try and steer each other around.
She tries to hook him up with this girl,
right?
Who's like, I guess, his senpai.
What's that?
It's like an older person, like kind of like a mentor-esque type.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like nice. Someone who's like older than you that you have respect for.
Got it.
Yeah.
So the whole first third of the movie where they're kind of figuring out what's going on, I thought it was such a great way to set everything up, and it was funny because they're exploring this situation and trying to understand it, and they keep, every time they plop back into their real life, all the people around them were like, what the heck was up with you yesterday? Yeah. You were like possessed. You were a different person. Like, we thought something was really wrong with you. And it makes total sense. And that's part of how they started to figure it out, was the reactions of the people around them and not remembering the day before that they did.
I thought that what they did really cool too is, like, whenever we're showing any sort of progression of time, we play a really cool song.
They did great
the
music
the music's really good.
It was fan. Like, I thought, like, several times during the movie, I could buy this soundtrack.
Yeah.
I'm not a big soundtrack guy, but this one I was like, wow. Because the score was really good, but they do a lot of actual songs. Like, I don't know if they're pop songs from Japan, or if I don't know these people. I don't know if they're famous. I don't know if they're written for the movie. I have no idea. All I know is that they worked perfectly with the movie. So I thought they did a good job with that as well. I agree. They did good montages.
Yeah,
in those.
The montage was really good. There were a couple bits where they had like taken it from the scene previously, but there was only like a couple of them. Like when he's like Taki's standing there, and like his three other waiters kind of like, oh, look at him, and he's like, whoa. He's like, I didn't know what I was doing.
That was a funny moment too. There was a lot of comedy in it, and yet there's a lot of bittersweet, and I mean, there's a little tragedy, and there's. You don't know. They keep you guessing how this is going to end until the very last scene. And that was amazing. Like, I was gripped the whole time.
And we kind of have, we can kind of talk a little bit about the characters, because we have Mitsuha, and the girl, and she doesn't like being stuck in the country.
Right. She's
like,
in
she lives
small
in this
town.
Small village.
She wants to get out. She wants to go to Tokyo, where they have things.
Yeah.
Right.
And so she wants to get out, and it's perfect that she gets switched with this high school boy in Tokyo. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of tell with Taki, he's the boy, you can kind of tell that he is like, oh yeah, this is Tokyo, but what he draws and everything, he wants to be an architect. Yeah. And everything that he draws is like architecture from, is it Itomi? Itomori? The village that she's from. Yeah. So because he's going through all that, so you can kind of see that he is in love with this village, and she's in love with Tokyo. So it's kind of perfect that they swap with each other. Yeah, it's really good.
So I agree, and that makes and that kind of sets up the ending, because of course she wants to go to Tokyo and she's going to end up in Tokyo.
Yeah. And so do Issei, or not Issei,
Tessie, and I can't remember her name. We don't hear her name that much.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they say it that much. They say his name a lot because they're always like calling after him or something. But so basically, as the story goes, you start to realize that, wait, something's not going to work out right here. Something's not, going the way it should, and we learn that eventually her town is going to get destroyed.
Well, I mean,
and then we realize that it happened in the past.
Well, yeah, everything's going fine, and the way that it starts is she tells him, "Hey, and this will be perfect. You'll be able to see the comet," and he's like, kind of like looks up and there's no comet.
What are you talking about? That's where I was confused.
Yeah, that's when I started, because like I purposely didn't read anything on this other than like the little bits that Funimation would put out.
Right.
So I purposely tried to stay as clear away because I didn't want anything ruined for me. So I like watching that, I was like, there's no any sort of comet,
right,
at all. But it's because it's always in hers. Like whenever it goes to her, she's the only one talking about the comet. In her life, there's a comet,
right?
But nothing in his world. Right. Is there any sort of comet? So then he's like, it just stops. Like the connection stops. They no longer switch bodies.
Oh yeah, that's when that happens.
Yeah. So like, right. he's like, because it's right after his date, and he's like, well, that's weird. I'm just gonna go see her. Yeah. Screw it. I'm gonna go see her. And so he for whatever reason didn't remember the name of the village, which makes sense.
Yeah, they would forget most of the details.
Which makes sense because like he would forget the name of the village.
Yeah.
Even though he's been there, he's drawn it. He just forgot it because we'll find out that when he goes to go find her, that village got destroyed 3 years ago.
Right.
When the comet struck.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, oh, so he's slowly starting to forget.
Yes. And it's interesting because they bring in this kind of element of like ancestor shrine magic and things like that, and basically the way that he figures out to actually finally make contact with her is through that. And I feel like it's really interesting because we have kind of a classic science fiction like time warp thing going on where two people from two different time periods are communicating. It's almost like parallel universes, and this kind of I guess it's religious. I'm not really well versed in Japanese beliefs and culture, and I think they say Shinto at some point in the movie.
Ancestor veneration.
Yeah, so basically like he finds this shrine that he remembered from when he was her. And at first he's like, "Holy cow! It is actually here. This is real." Because at that point he'd forgotten so much of it that he didn't know if it was real anymore.
And he sees that special sake, that she makes, that is literally a part of her. So, and that's like, okay, I'm gonna use this as kind of like the anchor to try and anchor myself back to her.
And that's when he has that lucid cave dream.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
I mean, he was drunk. I mean, that's
on one shot of sake.
Well, hey, that's supposed to be the most powerful sake, and it's been fermenting for 3 years.
That's true.
And it's got maiden saliva inside of it, so who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, like so he drinks it, and then he has his cool trip. But I thought that was really when I started to get like the first little bits of choked up, and I was like, oh, he's like really. They really care for each other.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And then, after it plays out, after that, you kind of have this period where, it's almost like an epilogue where it jumps forward 5 years. And there's this period of like, well, we always feel like we're searching for something.
Oh, no, we're not done yet. We're not done. You're skipping.
No, I know.
Oh,
I'm just saying, but I'm just making a larger point.
Oh.
I know we're not necessarily going chronologically through this entire movie, but just the way that they always, that's when you realize that there's this real and true connection between them, not just, oh, this is happening to both of us because we're switching bodies. But then that plays out in the last section of the movie where, time goes on and they always feel like there's somebody that they're searching for and they can't put their finger on it.
Because it's really cool, like when Taki has his, his cool dream sequence, and we find out that Mitsuha actually went to him in her time period 3 years ago,
right,
to try and meet him, and he doesn't know anything because it hasn't happened for him yet.
Right.
And that, I got a little bit choked up there too. I was like,
yeah,
oh no.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't know who you are because he hasn't met you.
Yep.
And she gives him the, her cool braid thing.
Her little
I gotta get
braided
myself
cord.
a cool little braided cord. It's pretty dope. And then, he, wears that all the time.
Yeah.
Because, like you do. And it was so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he wakes back up, because he falls after his lucid dream, and he wakes up in her body, and like he goes and he's like holding himself and crying because he finally did it. Then his sister comes in and he's like groping the boobs like he always does, and
he's crying, tears running down his face.
He's like, oh,
but he can't help it. He's still groping himself. It is really funny.
The sister was great.
Oh, she's
like,
adorable.
It's time for breakfast. Slam.
Yeah. And then,
like, stop groping yourself.
And then she's like, she's lost it. She's lost her mind. I'm leaving. And she just leaves without her.
He's like, I'm leaving. I can't be here right now.
Yeah. she was funny. I agree. Yeah. So then there's that whole section of the movie where I forget how he figures out to reveal to her that the comet's going to break apart and her town's going to be destroyed.
Oh, he just tells her.
And
he goes because he starts figuring out, okay,
he maybe screams at her through that dream or something, and she hears it. It's like they're not.
Well, no, she just wakes up because he knows. He's like, because he looks at the thing. He's like, maybe you're there. So he runs as her, goes up to the mountain, and she wakes up on the mountain because she is in his body. And so when she wakes up, she's like, oh no, my whole town is destroyed. And then that's
right. Okay.
Yeah, that's when they start, doing the Mitsuha and, Taki. And they're like, oh, snap. And then they can hear each other. They just can't see each other.
Right.
Until twilight hits.
Until twilight happens. Yeah.
And then they see each other.
Right.
And I was like, oh. And then we have the whole, he's like, I found you. I drank your sake. And she was like, what? You pervert?
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, and you touched my boobs. And he was like, no. He's like, my sister told me you did. And he's like, I mean, it's like the one time.
Yeah.
And she's like, really? Just the one?
It's really funny.
It was very cute.
Yeah, it's an awesome moment when they finally see each other, like really see each other. Fantastic moment.
And then twilight's setting, and they decide to write their hands so they don't forget who they are. Oh, I'm gonna cry. And he and he writes "I love you" instead of his name. Oh god.
Yeah, it was amazing. I really love that moment in the movie. That might be my favorite moment when twilight actually happens, and they have that brief moment together. I love that moment. I think that's probably my favorite moment.
I'm remembering
in the movie.
I can't talk.
It's so good. But I mean, the way that we're describing this movie, it seems like we're kind of jumping around. It seems like, this happens, then something that contradicts it happens. And that's kind of how this movie plays out. It really jumps. It keeps you guessing. There's a mystery to it. Like, how is this going to play out? How are these two actually connected? And are they ever going to really and truly cross paths? And up through that point, you still don't necessarily think that they're ever going to actually exist in the same place and time. And
And it's not till the
then
end.
you go through that whole section where she's trying to survive and save the town at the same time. And the one part that might be a little bit unbelievable is, I mean, she kind of instantly convinced her two friends to get in on that plot with her, which that was basically a series of criminal acts in order to save the town.
Well, I think Tessie kind of is crushing on her a little bit, so
true.
He's going to do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
And the other one's her best friend.
Right.
And
but still,
well, yeah,
I wouldn't have the guts to do any of that in high school.
They talk about it for just a split second, something that I caught, where she's like, this is just kind of like an exercise, right? We're not really going to do this like the friend does who makes the announcement. And so it's like, okay, yeah, so maybe she doesn't actually think, because then when she gets on the phone, she's like, you mean I really have to do it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so.
Well, and I don't think they address it with Tessie
and she only does it because Tessie's the one that tells her to do it.
Right.
Because she's in love with Tessie.
There's kind of a triangle thing cute. Going there. But Tessie might be aware a little bit more of what's going on, because there is that point in the movie where it's revealed to us that this is not the first time this has happened to people, citizens of that town.
The grandma, the mother, the father, even.
Yeah, they all know about this phenomenon, and there are moments where Mitsuhi gets called out because they know she's not Mitsuhi. They know she's somebody else at that point, and that was awesome. When you know that people know, and this is like a thing, then you're like, oh, what is this?
When the grandma's like, "Are you dreaming?"
Right,
and it's like, oh. Grandma knows.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Gravity Falls kind of thing, because the lake or the shrine that has that water around it is sitting in the middle of a comet crater from 1,200 years before. So it's kind of like it's caused this sort of phenomenon to be possible.
What is it? Was it Tiamat? Is that the name of the comet? I think it's Tiamat.
I don't remember.
But anyway, the comet landed. I mean, the last time it passed Earth was 1,200 years ago, and this crater was formed around 1,000 years ago.
Yeah,
according to Tessie.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh snap! So this is coming again.
Right. So it's like this, for whatever reason, it's like the Bermuda Triangle. It's this weird phenomenon in this one isolated area, and so there's kind of this ancestral memory and kind of history of this phenomenon happening to people, and it's happened to people in her own family. I think that's fascinating.
I thought it was kind of realistic, too, that they didn't save everybody. They saved a lot of people, but they didn't save everybody. I mean, if they would have saved everybody, it would have been a little bit, that's a little bit too... So, I mean, it's like, it's very real world. It's like...
I liked how you had that awesome filmmaking technique, kind of like they did in Metropolis, where when the comet finally hits, it goes silent, and you see the initial explosion, and then you hear the sound.
Everything.
Oh man, it was so gripping. You're like, oh my gosh, it's getting destroyed.
Well, it's kind of like when you watch stuff like that, and like the sound wave doesn't hit you automatically depending on how far back you are.
Like even so like if you're watching fireworks, and you're like,
and then it just comes back at you. It's really cool.
It was phenomenal. So, I mean,
and they finally got and we just skip to the end.
Yeah,
they totally got together.
Yeah, they finally
met each other. When they cross each other in the snow, I was like, you best not do this to me.
In the snow.
Yeah, in the snow the very first time when they walk past each other and they don't say anything.
Oh, when they're like on that bridge and it's a bird's eye view. And she's got the umbrella.
Yeah, and she just walks by, and I was like,
yeah,
because he sees the cord, but then doesn't say anything because he can't see her face, and she turns around and has his back to her.
Yeah,
and so doesn't say anything. Then they finally when they see each other on the train. I was like, oh god.
Yeah, they have that moment, and you're like, oh, okay, this might happen. But then they actually find each other, and they walk right by each other again. Up until the last minute, you're thinking, no, they're never gonna actually.
Well, they walk by each other, and they both blush, and you're like.
You're like, turn around. What are you doing? This is it. This is it right here. The audience is just screaming. Like,
I was internally, I was like, turn around, you son of a bitch.
I know. And then he stops at the top of the stairs and calls back down to her, And he's like, what did he say? Haven't we met before?
Haven't we met before? And she's
and
like,
she says,
crying.
I was thinking the same thing. And they're both just tears streaming down their face.
Like, what's in your name is? And I was like,
yeah, and it ends on that. Yeah. Oh, it's so good, man. This movie delivered. I think it is one of the best movies I've ever seen. It was really fantastically done. I can't wait to watch it again. I can't wait to own it.
In English.
I am interested in hearing the American dub. I do think that the voice acting in this was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
It was so well done. I thought it was great. We talked about the music. I didn't talk a whole lot about the artwork. I thought the artwork and the animation in this was spectacular. Mm-hmm. I mean, some of the movement and angles that they chose, like when she trips and falls down that slope, that was really impressive to me to watch, like her body tumble down like that. It was really realistic and believable. You know, I mean, she pedals a bike and she runs and she does a leap and catches herself with her hand, and like so many cool, beautiful, like human movements were captured in this. I thought it was spectacularly
and completely
animated.
Different from our last episode where we talked about Death Note.
Yeah, which is not very animated.
No, it's not.
But I feel like this, man, it really had some great animation in it. Great design work in the environments. You really got a sense of, you knew instantly whether it was an interior or exterior if you were in Mitsuhi's world or Take's world. And, you know, they did a great job animating Tokyo.
And yeah, we talked about this too, like all the intricate details that they put, all the little stuff, like his freaking iPhone. Mm-hmm. I was like, dude, I can just grab that iPhone. That iPhone looks so real.
It looks awesome. And all the details in their rooms and, you know, when they're eating food or whatever it is. I love how the Japanese animation aesthetic is so much about, let's represent everything that would be in this room down to the smallest detail, and let's not stylize it. Let's make it look like these characters are actually existing in a real world.
When he's drawing the village and like those beads of sweat fall down and hit the paper, he like wipes his hand across, and you have like the water stain, but then it hits a little bit of that his pencil, and you see it kind of starts budding off, you know, like when you put water on ink and it starts doing that branching thing. Yeah. It starts branching, and I was like, the detail in that is like, holy crap.
Well, and just the sound of his pencil scratching on that paper, and
the sound of the wood burning too. I was like, well, they just like put a microphone next to some burning wood.
That's another thing.
Really good.
That little ceremonial dance they did was gorgeous. Just to have the two girls in that very elegant, graceful dance with the little bells that they ring at those moments, I thought that was gorgeous, man. It was really, really captivating on basically every level to me. You know, my one little stupid point is just that I got bored with the school uniforms. That's just it, because I feel like I see that in every anime. But other than that, man, gorgeous film. And the comet, you know, this kind of, did you ever see the movie Melancholia? It's basically a movie about, okay, there's a comet coming, it's going to destroy Earth, and we can see it for like a year and a half coming at us, and it's just like this story about, you know, people just like coming to terms with, okay, well, it's coming, we're going to die, and you know, it's a really weird, depressing.
At the end?
Yeah, it totally does. It's like a weird, it's a dark kind of depressing but captivating movie, but I kind of got similar feelings from this, because you're like, okay, there's this comet. It's this big, beautiful thing, but there's also an ominous tone to it. And then especially once we realize what's going to happen with this comet, it's going to break in half, and the half that breaks off is going to destroy this town. You kind of have this tension from then on in the movie. You're like, this is going to happen. It's going to happen.
Like, yeah, and I like all the
coming down,
all
and
the reports too. Like when they're Taki's, you know, watching TV, and like you can hear all the reports that are going on, like, yeah, this is beautiful, this is something that we'll never see again, be fortunate it happens in your lifetime, look at this, it's beautiful, and like, everything like that, and no one has even thinking that, oh yeah, that's gonna pop, it's gonna fall and hit a village and kill
when
a bunch
it breaks
of people.
apart, there's the one newscast that flashes up, and they're like, we never predicted this could happen.
Yeah, I think it goes, and it shows JAXA, and they're like you see a bunch of dudes like running around in a control room, like, oh geez, so like they figured it out, but I mean,
Yeah, it's
like the news people are just like, oh, it's so pretty.
Yeah, but I love the way that they animated the comet and the debris that came off of it.
Yeah.
And the way that it kind of opens
that strike,
with
that when she's when he goes into her mind, like during his lucid dream, and it shows her and she's just standing there and she sees all the meteor strikes, and then she looks up and she sees the one coming right for her.
Yeah.
Oh, it was such a good scene.
I think
she's
that's
like,
when he calls out, you have to get out of there, and that's when she wakes up, right? Yeah.
And then he's like,
Yeah, just the timing and the weight of some of those lines back and forth is just exquisitely played in this movie. It's pretty long, but I never felt like it was dragging.
Never any lulls.
And I felt like I was always just on the edge of my seat waiting for that next shoe to drop. Fantastic movie, man.
Well, I mean, that's what we talked about like when we watched Boy and the Beast. Mm-hmm. And you can listen to that or our review of Boy and the Beast. I don't remember which episode
back.
it was.
I think it was in the 20s.
It was a way ago.
Yeah.
Find that on iTunes. Because we talked about the Boy and the Beast too, like, and there's really not. I think there's kind of a lull, but you didn't get that.
Mm-mm.
Like there's really like it's very, and I've noticed this with a lot of the anime films. They're very streamlined.
In a sense,
they are like, this is what it goes like Mononoke, for instance. Mm-hmm. Like there's not a down point in Mononoke or Spirited Away,
right?
Which this movie eclipsed Spirited Away.
Yeah, as the highest
to become the highest grossing anime film
in Japan. Yeah,
well, in the world now. So,
right.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, because like there's not lulls in either of those movies, and there's not a lull in this movie. There was never a point when I was just like, all right, come on, get back to Taki or get back to Mitsuha. Like that never happened.
Yeah, they keep it rolling. They do. I love that Japanese animation does always take the time to set a scene, though. Like they'll show you, they'll cut to a couple different shots of snow falling, and then they'll show you the scene where they walk past each other, and they'll show some scenery. They showed those red Japanese maple leaves on the surface of the pond, and then they show the rain start to happen. So you get a sense of place when they do those things, and they're willing to take the time to do that. Or I feel like in a lot of domestic animation, they'll just have that stuff happen in the background while the scene's going on, and you're supposed to catch on to it, instead of, this is what's happening. A light rain starts. Now it becomes more heavy. We see this pond rippling, and we show another leaf with the beads of rain falling off of it, and then we cut to Taki running up the hill in the rain. And so I like that they do that, and the artwork in those moments was so good. It was so good. All right, do you want to rank this? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, but yeah.
It's five Dipper Pines.
Yeah, 5 Jiminy Crickets, man.
I mean,
I was worried because we have hyped this movie and we've been anticipating it for months, and we just wanted it to be good so bad that I feel like if it wasn't good, we would have been crushed. Mm-hmm. But man, good job
I was not disappointed
on this movie.
At all. My only complaint was I had to read it.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was missing some stuff that was on screen.
We'll get to partake in that, though. If we don't on the big screen, it's one that we're both going to get as soon as it's available.
The moment they because I follow Right Stuff, and because they do a lot of the anime releases, and I follow Funimation. So the moment either one of those says, "Hey, it's available," or you can go ahead and pre-order it. Again, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree.
Thing is, though, I hope it's not too long. I hope it's not. Oh, this comes out in August, because I'll kill myself. I'll be like, this can come out in June, May, June. That would be great.
It depends on how long they're able to put it in theaters.
Distribution rights are a whole different thing, especially over here, because that's why it takes so long for anime to come out over here, because you have to go through international distribution rights, everything like that, and that's just usually a cluster.
Do you have a region-free player?
No.
We do. It's awesome.
What is it?
It's a Blu-ray player that'll play Blu-ray discs from anywhere.
Yeah,
so if you can find somewhere that you can buy an import, you can play it here. Like if you just have a Region 1 machine.
I don't think I'm going to get the English
No, I know.
stuff, though.
I know. But I mean, if you can't wait, Which, I mean, I could see like if they say, "Oh, this comes out next year" or something. I'd be like, "Well, I'll just buy it."
Yeah.
Because I can play it. And I really only truly don't like subtitles when I'm watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
After that, I can be fine with it. I end up missing things because I'm so entranced with the visuals. I'm not a fast
reader either.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I have to go like...
We're slow readers on the animation station.
Mm-hmm.
We like our cartoons.
I like my cartoons talking English.
Awesome, man. Well, this has been a blast. I'm glad we watched this. I'm glad Funimation put it out in theaters because, man, it was an experience.
And hopefully it stays in theaters. At least for a little bit. I would like to see it hit 500 million. If it could hit 500 million, that would be so cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like even if we can contribute a third of their gross, like even if we just gave them 100 million, like I think that would be impressive just as it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it depends on whether or not they can get it into wide release or not.
Yeah.
Or at least more of an extended release. It has to hang around for a bit. So, because right now, we're going to go tell all of our friends how awesome it is, but whether or not they can see it tomorrow, because it's gone after that right now, right?
Yeah,
There's
and that's the thing,
tomorrow.
Oliver, not that I haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
Oliver's seeing it today at 4:20, just plays. But he's seeing it, but he can only get the subtitle. They didn't have the dub version anywhere.
Okay.
So I was like, and I'm like, he lives in Chicago, and he couldn't find it. And I was like, geez, the fact that Oklahoma got 2 theaters that have it for 3 days, is kind of like, wow.
Maybe now just 1 because they didn't have it at ours.
Oh well, yeah. Who knows about the dub? I mean,
grr, AMC.
Yeah, that's gonna complain about that.
But the movie delivered. So.
Oh yeah, the movie's still great. I mean, I'm glad I would have watched it, subtitled anyway.
Right.
Because you do have to kind of hear the original voice actors and everything like that. But like you said, sub is never my first choice.
Yeah.
I like to watch it dubbed first so I know the story, and then I can go watch it subbed. Because even if I miss something, it's all right. I've seen it before. I can look at all the pretty colors and stuff.
And I had that. I actually had the moment. It was about 5 minutes in. I was like, okay, do I get up and go talk to somebody and ask them?
I thought about that too.
But I also knew, well, if it's only available this way, this is my chance to see it. I'm not going to get another chance.
Exactly.
So
that's what kept me...
sit here and deal with it.
Yeah,
and I got over it. But
I did look at you a couple times.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, because I was like, if you look at me... and you're like, no, then we're both going to get out of here.
I was trying to have that laser focus on, okay, start reading, get in a rhythm.
Well, I'm talking about when they, when it's doing the your name and it's just singing and there's no dialogue.
Right.
I was looking at you and I was like, if he looks over here, I'm going to be like, you want to go? Then we go complain.
Yeah.
And we're like, I want that.
Because we would have had legitimate complaints. We would have had 2, that they changed the movie time. And it wasn't the dubbed product.
And that's the thing that kills me. They changed the movie time.
That was weird.
There was not even any sort of email confirmation, anything.
Right. They clearly changed the time.
only reason I noticed it was because I couldn't tap on the 1125 on the app.
Yeah.
It let me tap in on the 1105. Let me tap in all the previous ones that I've seen. Even the one that I've, I think I'm seeing Ghost in the Shell tomorrow. It would even let me click on the Ghost in the Shell as a future event, would not let me touch 1125.
So weird.
It's really bizarre. Really bizarre.
Oh, well. We got over it.
Yeah. All right, you ready to get out of here?
I'm ready.
All right.
Check, please.
For the Animation Station, I'm Josh. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh L. Kane.
I'm Gavin. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Gavin Ottoson Art.
You can find the podcast on Instagram at Animation Station Podcast.
And you can find us on Twitter at Animate Podcast.
You can also download all of our episodes on iTunes and Stitcher, and you can go to our website animationstationpodcast.com, where you can reach out to us, and you can also find all of our podcasts on the podcast tab there as well.
Yep.
All right.
I think that's it, man.
Yep. Definitely go see Your Name.
Absolutely.
And we want to know if you guys have seen it.
Yep. Let us know.
Sub, dub, whatever. Even if you're one of those people that pirated it. just let us know in the comments below. Tell us what you thought about it.
Absolutely.
All right. It's for the Animation Station. I'm Josh.
I'm Gavin.
Bye-bye, Ladybug. Wait, that's not how it goes. It's bye-bye, little butterfly. Dang it. I always mess up.
I
keep messing it up.
It's like every other time.
Yeah.
Made you look.
と目を覚ましたかいそれなのになぜ目も合わせやしないんだい遅いよと怒る君これでもやれるだけ飛ばしてきたんだよ心が体を追い越してきたんだよ君の髪や瞳だけで胸が痛いよ吸い込んで離したくないよ遥か昔から知るその声に生まれて初めて何を言えばいい君の全然前世から僕は君を探し始めたよその不吉祥な笑い方をめがけてやってきた